What's up, everybody? Louis back here again for a monster card, UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi. We had some last-minute shakeups, but it's arguably a better card in my opinion. You got the fight for the lightweight belt. Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander the Great Volkanovski for a second time. Was supposed to be Charles Oliveira. I was excited to see that one, but arguably I'm more excited to see this one. Volk stepping up on 12 days' notice. And at the co-main event, 185 pounds middleweight, you got Kamaru Usman stepping up on 12 days' notice, taking on Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev's been out for over a year. His last win coming over Kevin Holland. His first fight at 185. Well, planned fight at 185, and Kamaru Usman seeing if he can get a belt at another weight class. This is his opportunity, but the winner of this fight is definitely getting a title shot, so I'm excited for that, and this is just madness, but I'm so pumped for it. And then the feature fight, light heavyweight 205, MAGOMEDOV taking on Johnny Walker, probably a #1 contender spot if it's not a draw, if it's not a horrible fight, because you got Pereira taking on Yuri Prochazka for the real belt, the actual title, because Jamal Hill gave it up after Yuri gave it up. 205 is a mess. Hopefully they start to get it straightened out, but I think an impressive win by either guy in this fight is going to get the title shot, so that should be exciting. And we have the possibility of fireworks. And then you got Islam ALISKEROV coming off his huge debut against Phil Hawes, so if he taking on ALVES, so they're kind of, it looks to me they're setting him up for a big knockout or something, so we'll see. And then you got Saeed Nurmagomedov and Muin GAFUROV. Saeed trying to get back on track after a close decision loss to Jonathan Martinez, ranked around number 15-ish. And then the main event of the prelims, Tim Elliott, number 11-ish, taking on Muhammad MOKAEV, number 12, winner of this, trying to get into the top 10. This is a huge test for MOKAEV. If he can be a tough, wily veteran like Tim Elliott, who's seen it all, then he's ready for the elite at flyweight. Maybe make a run to a title shot. And, you know, you got a lot of other good fights on here. You got Nathaniel Wood taking on Muhammad NAIMOV. Interested to see what Nathaniel does at featherweight. And you got the debut of MAGOMEDOV. So, should be a fun one. Let's get right into it. First fight of the night, 185 pounds, men's middleweight. MAGOMEDOV making his UFC debut, taking on Bruno Silva. Magomedov took on Mikhail Ragozin in another promotion. I don't know the name of it. All the letters were in Russian. In the first round, he gets clinched to the fence with an underhook, and then he gets doubled, but then he's able to pop right back up, and then he's able to get the overhook frames off his head, lands some knees to the head, and then a hook flurry, and then he backs up and steps in with an overhand left, gets the knockout, one-punch quitter, so that's pretty powerful. And then Bruno Silva took on Brendan Allen his last fight. In the first round, he eats a knee to the body in the clinch and an overhand, but then he gets clinched with the head and arm up against the fence. But he's able to get the underhook, able to palm him out a little bit, and then he squares up, and then he rocks him with a quick hook combination. He's able to stuff the single leg attempt, lands a couple wild hooks, but then he gets rocked with a counter, just leaves his face wide open. He starts pressing with some jabs in, an uppercut in the collar tie, but then he gets dropped with a counter right hook and gets submitted with a rear naked choke. So what are you going to do? Brendan Allen's pretty tough. He's on the rise right now. But, you know, he had his moments. He's just a little too wild for me. Bruno Silva plus 235. Magomedov minus 290. You know, I didn't get to watch a lot of tape on Magomedov because it was really hard to find tape. And Bruno Silva, he's either hit or miss. He had a terrible performance against Mearshart, and he had a low IQ against Brendan Allen. I don't like this price tag, but I mean, I feel like they're setting up Shera for a big victory here. I don't know if it's going to be a finish, but Bruno Silva's going to leave himself open, I would assume. And I think Shero's going to be able to control the grappling if he needs to. I don't think he's like a master grappler like a lot of the other Russians, or at least he didn't show that in the fight that I watched, but I think he might be able to catch him with something. I don't really know. I'm going to go Shera Magomedov. I just have a feeling he's going to win in his debut, but we'll see. The Pirate. Second fight of the night, 115 pounds, women's strawweight, Victoria Dudakova taking on Jinyu Frey. Dudakova took on Estela Nunes her last fight. In the first round, she dips her head, throws a 1-2-1 combination, then she gets the low ankle pick, and Estela Nunes breaks her arm, so that doesn't count. Before that, she took on Maria Silva on Dana White's Contender Series. In the first round, she ducks with the cross, gets a body lock into a hip toss into full guard, keeps the underhook when she stays up on the feet, though. Doesn't throw a lot of ground and pound, but she keeps tight with the lock, doesn't want to give any free points. Then in the second round, she lands a straight right, gets on into the underhook, but then she gets reversed with an inside trip. But her inside trip gets stuffed, but then she gets put in mount. She's able to get out of it, doesn't take too much damage, but then she gets clinched to the fence. But then she's able to pummel and she gets the over-under, but then she's able to get the wizard kick, get the takedown. Then back up on the feet, she tries the wizard kick, and they end in a north-south position, and she eats some ground and pound. It's kind of like a weird scramble. But then in the third round, she picks it back up. She eats a 1-2 off of loading up on her hook. But then she's able to get the single takedown into the crucifix, some nasty elbows. Then she's able to take the back, body lock, body triangle, rear naked choke attempt. Can't finish, but at least she's going for it. And then Jinh Yu Frey took on Elise Reed her last fight. In the first round, she gets an underhook on the fence and then a hip toss right into half guard. And then she back on the feet, lands a 1-2 range. She's able to duck the 1-2. She's able to get the double, but she's not able to hold her down very long. But then she's able to land a left hook off a leg kick. And then she gets a single takedown off the fence. But then she gets pressed with the 1-2 and an uppercut. Then in the third round, she eats a straight right off a 1-2. Then she eats a head kick and a 1-2 in the pocket up against the fence. But then she's able to land a counter right off of her overhand. So, you know. Jinh Yu Frey plus 400, Victoria Dudakova minus 535. This line's insane. I'm going to pick Victoria Dudakova to win. I would put money on Jinh Yu Frey though. But I think Victoria Dudakova, you know, she's a little wild. She shoots some sloppy shots sometimes, but I think she's going to be able to get the takedowns as the fight goes on. At least, or Jinh Yu Frey doesn't really have a ton of power for her or anything like that. I just wish Victoria Dudakova would use more ground and pound. Whenever she gets a takedown, she doesn't do a ton of damage. Maybe she's worked on that. So I'm probably looking at a decision. If you wanted to, Victoria by decision, that would work. But I'm not going to bet minus 535 on her. But my pick is Victoria Dudakova. Third fight of the night, 145 pounds, men's featherweight. Nathaniel Wood taking on Muhammad Naimov. Nathaniel Wood coming off a barn burner against Andre Fili. In the first round, he gets dropped with the straight right off the teep kick. But then he's able to drop him with the right cross off of his jab in a flurry. Then he's able to get a double jab, lands a nice cross, standing at range. Then in the second round, he lands a long left hook whenever he gets pressed, but then he gets dropped and he eats a straight off of his step-in 1-2. And he eats a couple of knees to the head and he gives his back. But then he's able to reverse the position. He's able to take his back, but then he gets reversed yet again in full guard. Then in the third round, he walks into a couple jabs and he looks for the step-in overhand left. Then he's able to duck and land a left hook to the head and the body. And, you know, this is a pretty conservative round, but he was able to outstrike him. Muhammad Naimov took on Jamie Malarkey his last fight. He was a big underdog in that fight. In the first round, he moves into the collar tie, but then he gets passed by, gives up his back. His takedown attempt gets stuffed, but then he gets body locked to the fence. Then he gets clinched, but then he's able to rip the body, and he lands a hook, and then he kind of circles out of the clinch, but then he eats a couple body shots in the clinch. Then in the second round, he lands a step-in jab. Whenever he gets pressed, he eats a right cross with his back up against the fence, but then he gets pressed with some jabs, but then he's able to land a spin kick to the body, but then he gets body lock tripped off the fence, and he gives up his back from that position, but he's able to work his way back up. Then he lands a wheel kick to the head, followed up with a nice left hook, and then he has his back to the fence, and he lands a step-in right cross whenever he gets rushed. So, picture perfect, and yeah, he was competitive. I would say he was losing, but it was a competitive fight. Muhammad Naimov plus 250, Nathaniel Wood minus 310. I don't really like the price tag, but I think Nathaniel Wood's chin is very iffy. I was worried about that in the Andre Fili fight. But I don't think Naimov's going to knock him out. And Nathaniel Wood, he might get dropped a lot, but he's able to recover pretty well. And I think he's going to be able to take Muhammad Naimov down. Jamie Malarkey was able to take him down. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood. I think striking's more crisp. I think Naimov might have a good first round, but I think Nathaniel Wood's going to be able to maintain his pace and pick up the pace as the fight goes on. Minus 310's a lot, but I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood. Fourth fight of the night, 155 pounds, men's lightweight. Mike Breeden taking on JUBLI. Breeden took on Terrence McKinney. His last fight, he got knocked out on 90 seconds. So that happens, though, against Terrence McKinney. Before that, he took on Atan Levy. In the first round, he lands a 1-2, gets a body lock inside trip takedown. Can't hold it very long, though. But then he pressures with the body and the head hook combination, but then he eats a right hook off his jab, and he walks into a single and gives up his back toward the end of the round. Ill-advised. Then in the second round, he gets taken down with a snatch single, and he gives up his back, but then he rips the body and then a 1-2 to the head up up on the fence, but then he eats a hook and a body kick, and he gives up his back again. Then in the third round, he lands a couple straights to the body up against the fence. He's able to stuff the double, and he rips to the body really well. And then he's able to land a knee to the body, stuffs a single, lands some ground and pound from like the front headlock position. But then he eats a counter hook off of his step and cross. But then he gets dropped with the counter hook whenever he's throwing sloppy in the pocket, and he's kind of winging it. So not the best IQ, in my opinion. JUBLI took on Jake Sargi his last fight. And this was on like the road to the UFC. In the first round, he lands some jabs and then a cross, gets the underhook to the single off the fence in full guard, lands some ground and pound, not a ton. He's a guy that prefers to maintain position. But then he eats some leg kicks standing at range. Then in the second round, he gets pressed, but with some crosses and a head kick. But then he's able to clinch and gets a single leg trip takedown, takes the back. He gets one hook in, then both of them. Then he gets them flat, ground and pound, TKO. So, JUBLI minus 270, Mike BREEDEN plus 220. Yeah, I just, price is a little high, but I mean, it might not be. Like, Mike BREEDEN, I bet him against Terrence McKinney because he had a competitive fight with Levy, but he makes really bad decisions, and he could clip Angel, but he leaves himself wide open, and I think Angel's going to be able to take him down a lot. So, I don't think Angel should have too much problem. But, you know, Mike BREEDEN's scrappy, but he does take a lot of damage. So, minus 270 is a little pricey, but I'm going to go with JUBLI. I think it might be relatively easy for him. Fifth fight of the night, 185 pounds, men's middleweight. You got AZAITAR taking on Cedric Dumas. AZAITAR took on Marc-Andre Barriault in 2001, so about 2.5 years off. In the first round, he rips the body and then gets the underhook up against the fence. He lands some tie knees to the head, and then he lands some uppercuts and a collar tie. And they kind of just go back and forth, and it was a clinch battle. His cardio is good for the first round, but the second and the third it diminishes. Then in the second round, he eats some uppercuts in the clinch, but then he lands a couple winged hooks, just kind of chucks them out there. But then he's able to slip the crosses, but then he gets backed up and clinched up against the fence, and Marc-Andre just really wearing on him, putting all his weight on him. But then he throws a dip in overhand, and then he wings a hook into the collar tie, but then he eats a couple counter hooks. Then in the third round, he eats some straights up against the fence, but then he misses some hooks, and then he gets dropped with the hook off of a single attempt, just like sort of, he drops his mouthpiece actually, and he just kind of bends over to pick it up. So I don't know what that was, but it was really dumb. It was a bad decision on his part. So he takes damage from that. Then he eats a lot of ground and pound and gets TKO'd with like 5 seconds left. So. And then Cedric Dumas took on Cody Brundage his last fight. In the first round, he gets doubled, but then he's able to stuff the guillotine. And it was mostly Cody Brundage's fault, actually, because he kept trying to pull guillotine. I think Cody Brundage kind of threw the fight away. But then he gets reversed with the low single, but then he's able to stuff the guillotine, and then he postures up, lands some ground and pound. And then he was able to get like a lot of control time on top, too, because Cody Brundage missed a pull guillotine. So then in the second round, he's able to stuff the single, takes his back, gets a rear naked choke attempt with one hook, but then he gets reversed, but then he's able to defend the single re-attack, and then he's able to spin around and take his back. Then in the third round, he gets doubled off the fence, but then he's able to use the underhook to get up, and then he's able to stuff the guillotine and stay on top for a little bit. But, third round wasn't too impressive. He was on his back a lot in the third round. But Cedric Dumas minus 250, AZAITAR plus 205. I really don't know who to pick here, but AZAITAR's been off for a long time. And if he doesn't get a knockout in the first round, I think he's going to have some trouble. Cedric doesn't have, like, the best cardio in the world, but I think it's probably better than AZAITAR's. And I think he's better in the grappling exchanges. And I think he scrambles pretty well. There's a lot of improvement from his second fight to his first fight. And, yeah, I mean, AZAITAR's had, like, a few years off, so... Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I'm going to go Cedric Dumas just because I feel like he's getting better, and AZAITAR is doing God knows what. You know, he will be dangerous in the first round. Maybe Cedric loses the first round, but I think he can come back. He has some good takedowns, and he's able to get up if he has to. So, and, you know, Cedric has some flashy kicks and stuff, and he might be able to clip him with something. So, minus 250, I'm going to go Cedric Dumas, but be careful on that one. Sixth fight of the night, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight, Javid Basharat taking on Victor Henry. Javid took on Mateus Mendonca his last fight. In the first round, he lands some jabs and some leg kicks when he's backing up. Then he lands a step-in jab, rocks him with that. But then he gets body locked and drugged down off the fence. Then the second round, he gets doubled off the fence, but then he's able to pop right back up. He lands some cross jabs backing up, and then he gets a snatch single crucifix, lands some nasty elbows, cuts him open pretty bad. Then in the third round, he lands a step-in jab. Then he initiates the collar tie, but then he gets underhooked. But then he's able to stuff a trip attempt and get on top of him and kind of finish the fight on top and land some more good ground and pound. And then Victor Henry took on Tony Gravely's last fight. In the first round, he stuffs his shot, but then he eats a straight off his overhand. But he's able to stuff the shot again. Then he's able to get double underhooks in a clinch battle. Really good takedown defense at times. But then right at the end, he gets doubled off the fence. He's kind of standing there. He gives up his back with like 30 seconds left. So that was weird because he looks so good early in that same round defending. Then in the second round, he pressures at range. He lands some jabs and some teeps to the body. And he lands some jabs up against the fence, but then he gets pressure with some hooks and a collar tie. But then he's able to land a couple straight combinations, breaks off of it. But then he gets body locked and taken out the trip off his teep, and he gives up his back toward the end. But then in the third round, he walks into some hooks and some uppercuts in the pocket. But then he presses with some double jabs and a cross. But then he eats a 1-2 and a head kick standing in the pocket. And then he's taking out the double, but then he has a pretty solid knee bar attempt. And then he's able to hit a peek out, and he's able to get to his back. He can't hold him down there, though, but he's able to, like, stay around him, back on the feet, and they strike again for, like, 10 seconds. So, yeah, he's really scrambling, and he doesn't ever give up. So, and, you know, he can wrestle a little bit, and he can defend takedowns. Victor Henry plus 390, Javid Basharat minus 520. Yeah, I think Javid is a very good prospect. I think he's on the rise, but, you know, Victor Henry, he can surprise some people, and this line is insane. Javid Basharat's very good, but I don't think he was, like, I forget how much he was against Mendonca, but, I mean, minus 500 would be about what you'd be at for Mendonca, or what you should be. And Victor Henry's a good fighter. He's a little older, but, I mean, we've seen that he can battle in all the fights he's in, and he beat Ronnie Barcelos in his debut fight. Who thought that was going to happen? And Javid's not really a finisher. So this might be going to a decision. I think it could be close. I think Victor Henry, you know, Javid doesn't have the best takedowns. So even if he does shoot, I think Victor Henry's going to be able to stuff a lot of the takedowns. Victor's got a good gas tank. You know, Javid's got a beautiful jab, but I think Victor Henry might be able to break through it and do some dirty work in the clinch and land some shots on the inside. So plus 390, I'm going to go with Victor Henry. I think he gets it done. I think this line's way out of whack. I think it's a close 3-round decision. Maybe it goes to Javid, but Victor Henry can win close decisions. Got to go with Victor. Seventh fight on the card, 155 pounds. Men's lightweight, Muhammad Yahya making his UFC debut, taking on Trevor Peek. Yahya took on Sohail Tari in UAE Warriors. In the first round, he looks for some crosses off leg kicks, but then he's able to drop him with this step-in right cross, kind of out of nowhere. But then he misses the cross and gets clinched, and then he gets dropped with the counter overhand right. So, go figure. He got clinched to the fence for a while. In the second round, he lands a body kick to the clinch, but then he gets reversed and taken out with the single, and then gets back up, but he gets taken out with an inside trip, and he gives up his back, and he gets caught in a pulled guillotine, but he's able to pop out eventually, but it was kind of close. Then in the third round, he lands some right crosses off of his hooks, and he gets an underhook clinch, lands a back fist, but then he gives up his back, and he eats some hooks on the break. Then he gets tripped, and he gives his back, but then he's able to reverse, land some ground and pound toward the end there. And it was a 5-round fight, and I guess the fight turned it in his favor, but, you know, rounds I watched, I mean, I think he lost a 1 and 2. One, they both dropped each other, so it's hard to tell, but I don't know, man. He might have a glass chin. Trevor Peek took on Chepe Mariscal his last fight in the first round. He lands a hook to an uppercut flurry, but then he gets hip tossed. He's able to pop right back up, though. But they both kind of get into a slugfest, and he gets passed by, gets put in a rear naked choke attempt, and it was pretty tight, but he's able to get out of it. But then he wings some hooks and some standing hammer fists. But then he eats a couple counter hooks for that. Go figure. Then the second round, he gives up the body lock and he gets drugged down. But then he's able to gets back up, lands a couple wild uppercuts. But then he gets dropped with the leg kick. But he's able to swim him off of his back. But then he gets reversed again. And then in the third round, he rushes and he lands some hooks, but then he gets body locked. But he's able to get back up, and then he lands some uppercuts, but then he eats a couple overhands in the exchange. But then he eats a couple face kicks and a hook flurry on the fence at the end. He's just exhausted. You could see him like leaning on the fence, so that's not good. But yeah, the dude's got a lot of power and he can take a shot. So he's got that going for him. Trevor Peek minus 185. Muhammad Yahya is plus 155. I mean, Yahya might have a glass chin. I think that first round is going to be really tough for him. And he didn't like really impress me in his fight. But why are we putting favorite money on Trevor Peek at minus 185? You know, Muhammad Yahya is not some scrub that they brought in for Trevor Peek to beat. And also, they're in Abu Dhabi. Trevor Peek's not from Abu Dhabi. Muhammad Yahya's from that area. So it doesn't really make sense that it's a setup fight for Trevor Peek, and he's a favorite. I'm going to have to go with Muhammad Yahya at the dog money. I think that's the good value. And, you know, Trevor Peek, all likelihood, might knock him out in the first round, but he might not. And, you know, Muhammad Yahya can grapple a little bit. Trevor Peek can defend takedowns. Sometimes he can get back up, but I just don't feel comfortable betting favorite money on Trevor Peek, so I'm going to go with Muhammad Yahya, and we'll see what happens, okay? Main event of the prelims, 125 pounds, men's flyweight. Number 11, Tim Elliott, taking on Muhammad MOKAEV. I think he's like number 12 right now, technically, but I feel like the winner of this fight will be in the top 10. So, yeah, it's a big test for Muhammad MOKAEV. He can beat Tim Elliott. He's ready for the upper echelon of flyweight. Tim Elliott is that gatekeeper to the top 10. He's been around for a long time. He's seen it all. Muhammad MOKAEV, very young, but he's got a decent amount of fights under his belt. And yeah, he had to scare his last fight, but we'll see how he responds to it. Tim Elliott took on Victor Altamirano his last fight. In the first round, he catches the body kick, gets a takedown into full guard, lands some ground and pound. He's able to defend a couple arm bars. Doesn't do anything crazy, but he lands some good shots down there. Then in the second round, he eats a blitz, but then he gets this single through scramble position. He kind of like rolls through it. But then he eats a head kick, and then he gets pancaked. But then he's able to get back up, gets the front headlock, and snap down, go behind, able to finish the round on top. Then in the third round, he lands a lunge overhand right, but then he's able to complete the single off of the kick. But then it gets back up, and then he eats a hook and a head kick in the pocket, and then he eats a blitz and a leg kick, but then he's able to grab the leg again and get the single. So, yeah, he was kind of getting pieced up on the feet there, to be honest. He was just kind of going for the takedowns. He was kind of hoping he could get those, but he got him easy, so it is what it is. Muhammad MOKAEV took on Jafel Filo his last fight. In the first round, he's able to defend the guillotine. He's able to take his back, gets one hook in, and lands some ground and pound up against the fence like he does, kind of just wearing on him. Then in the second round, he has steady pressure and he pumps his jabs, but then he's able to back out of the range of the hooks, and he shoots the double to the fence to the body lock whenever he gets pressed, and then he's able to get a high C, switches off to a double into full guard. Doesn't do a ton with it, though, but, you know, he's got pretty good top pressure. Then in the third round, he gets a snatch single, gets around his back, and then he's able to pull him down and gets the body triangle, but he's not able to hold him for very long, and Filo is able to, like, pop out. He's able to turn in, pop out, but then he's able to get the double to the back, and he gets one hook in, but then he gets caught in a knee bar in a scramble, and it gets fully extended. It was hyperextended, and nobody knows how he didn't tap, and he was limping after the fight, so go figure, but he's able to pop out of it, get on his back in a rear naked choke submission, and I would say Filo is probably morally and mentally defeated because he didn't understand how this guy couldn't tap. So Muhammad MOKAEV is just a freak. But yeah, he gets it done, and he gets the finish out of all of it. So, yeah, he's very special. Muhammad MOKAEV, minus 380. Tim Elliott, plus 300. You know, the knee is obviously concerning, but I don't think he would take the fight if he wasn't 100% on it. Tim Elliott's not like a huge leg kicker. Unless Tim Elliott gets a knee bar, he might be in trouble, but I don't think it's going to happen. I just think I like Muhammad MOKAEV here. Tim Elliott's a very good wrestler, but I think Muhammad's going to be faster on the feet, and Tim Elliott gets pieced up sometimes. I think Muhammad MOKAEV is going to be able to land a couple shots and just have better pressure than Tim Elliott does. Tim Elliott's going to be tough. Tim Elliott might be able to land a couple big shots or something like that. He might be able to scramble and reverse. But I think Muhammad MOKAEV is going to be faster, and he's going to beat him to the positions, basically. So I'm going to go minus 380. It's a lot, but I'm going to go with Muhammad MOKAEV. You want to do Muhammad MOKAEV by submission, plus 165, because whenever Tim Elliott fought Brandon Royval, they got into a wild scramble. He got submitted by Brandon Royval. I could see something like that happening in a scramble position. I'm going to go with Muhammad MOKAEV. I think it's his time. I think he's going to show 125 that he's improved and he's here for the title. First fight on the main card, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. Said Nurmagomedov hanging around number 15, taking on GAFUROV. Nurmagomedov coming off a tough, close decision to Jonathan Martinez his last fight. In the first round, he throws a back fist and a body kick, and then he lands a couple crosses and a head kick. Then he presses forward with some crosses and some lunge jabs. And he kicks the leg, and he's able to take the back, but he's not able to hold him down for very long. But then he gets clinched up to the fence. Jonathan Martinez did a really good job of clinching him, and Said had a little bit of trouble breaking out of those clinches. But then he lands a back elbow in a pocket exchange, and he gets shot to the fence and clinched. He tries to go for the headlock, but he's not able to hold him down there very long. Actually, he doesn't hold him down there at all. He almost got reversed. Then in the second round, he's able to catch the teep kick, and he's able to get the single leg takedown. Then he lands a back fist in the pocket, and his single attempt gets stuffed, but then he's able to clinch to the fence, digs that underhook. Then in the third round, he's able to catch the kick, gets a takedown, lands some nice ground and pound, but then he gets caught in an armbar, and, everybody was, freaking out. So it looked close, but I didn't think he was really in that much danger, but who knows? Who knows how they score submissions like that? But then he's able to take the back with a body triangle, but he's not able to hold him down there. He gets the backpack position, and Martinez is able to get out, which I was surprised by. And then you can tell he's a little tired, a little defeated. Then he gets clinched to the fence with an underhook, and Martinez lands a few elbows and a few knees here and there, but nothing crazy. But Martinez clinched him against the fence for a long time, so I think that's what did it for him. GAFUROV took on John Castaneda his last fight. In the first round, he lands a hook to a double, but he gets stuffed. Then he gets pressed and eats a head kick when he gets pressed, but then he's able to sit down on the hook on the fence, just wings them. He misses most of them, and he leaves himself open. Then he gets dropped with a head kick and a hook, going for a level change. Then in the second round, he just wings hook. He's able to land a head kick, and he wobbles him with a leg kick, and then he gets taken down with the head. He gets taken down with an inside trip, but then he's able to swim off his back, and he lands a hook flurry up against the fence. He's able to catch the kick, and he's able to get the double leg off the fence. Then back on the feet, he wings a couple hooks in the pocket, and then he's kind of go at it. Then in the third round, he lands an overhand shoots a double to the fence, and then he's able to land a body kick, follows up with a nice jab. Then he gets clinched and taken out the double off the fence. So, yeah. He looked pretty good in the first round, but then he got dropped out of nowhere. So, GAFUROV plus 230, Said Nurmagomedov minus 285. I think Said is going to win relatively easily. GAFUROV might catch him with something big, but I think Said's going to be too slick for him. GAFUROV, when he wings hooks, he just sits down there at range and just throws them. Said's going to be able to hit him with something up the middle, a kick up the middle probably. Said's more accurate. I think he's faster. I just really don't think GAFUROV has too much for him. He might be able to hit him with something big, so it might be dangerous in the first round, but after that, I don't think so. Said's going to be able to defend all the takedowns, in my opinion. I think he'll be able to get a takedown off the defense, like a snap down, go behind, something like that. So I'm going to go with Said Nurmagomedov, a little pricey, but Said by KO plus 450. Moon did get dropped in the first round, so that's a lot of money. I would do the knockout, but I'm going to go with Said Nurmagomedov. I think he gets it done. I think he gets back on track. Second fight on the main card, 185 pounds, men's middleweight. ALISKEROV taking on ALVES. ALISKEROV took on Phil Haas's last fight. In the first round, he eats some body kicks and an overhand, and then he gets rocked with the cross whenever he's coming in the pocket. Then he gets clipped with the body kick, but then he's able to land a 1-2. But then he rushes with the 1-2, and he's able to land near the body, and then he's able to get range. And whenever he gets rushed, lands a 1-2, knockout right down the pipe. And Phil Haas was doing good with that lead hook, and ALISKEROV was having trouble finding range, but whenever they got into sort of an exchange in the pocket, ALISKEROV was able to find a little bit of space to find that knockout. So Phil Haas doesn't have the best chin, but yeah, but ALISKEROV did get touched up a little bit. So ALVES took on Nick Dalby his last fight. This is at 170, so he's going to be going up a weight class. In the first round, he walks into some teeps and a cross, then he gets body locked to the fence off of an overhand lunge, but then he eats a 1-2 at range. Then in the second round, he lands a lunge overhand, shoots a double to the fence, but then he gets pancaked, but then he's able to hit a sweep and get back on top. Can't really do much with it, though. But then he eats some elbows in the pocket, and then he gets body locked up against the fence. They both land some right crosses going at it in the pocket. Then in the third round, he presses with the right hook, followed up with an uppercut. Then he lands a right cross in the pocket, and he gets a clinch to the fence, gets the over-under, but then he gets reversed. But then he's able to land a couple right crosses at range. Had a pretty good third round, but, he was getting outpaced the first couple rounds. ALVES plus 440. ALISKEROV minus 600. We haven't really seen too much ALISKEROV, but he does have that one-hitter quitter power. Nicholas Dalby really doesn't. But, yeah, Alves was, eating some shots whenever he was coming in, and I think Ikrom's going to be able to catch him with something coming in inside the pocket. Yeah, I feel Haas shooting any takedowns, but I think ALISKEROV's probably going to be able to see Alves shooting a little bit too far away. I think he's going to be able to stuff the takedowns. And, Ikram ALISKEROV's on the rise. Alves, he's been around for a while, so, and going up to 185, Ikram ALISKEROV is huge. So I think this price is insane, but I'm going to go with Ikram ALISKEROV minus 600, but the knockout plus 120, I think that'd be a safe bet, but I got to go with Ikram on this one. Feature fight of the night, 205 pounds, men's light heavyweight, Magomed ANKALAEV taking on Johnny Walker. Yeah, the winner of this is almost certainly getting a title shot, so huge stakes in this one, especially if it's an impressive performance. And I think there's going to be fireworks here because both guys, had lackluster performances their last fight. So I think they're both going to be hungry to get after it. Magomed took on Jan Blachowicz last fight for the title in the first round. He landed straight right off of 1-2, but then he eats a leg and some body kicks at range. But then he's able to land some front kicks to the body, but then he eats a hook to the body, but then he's able to land a counter overhand right in the pocket. Then in the second round, he gets pressed with an overhand and an uppercut in the pocket, but then he gets wobbled with an inside leg kick, and he had like a big reaction to it. And then he like moved back, but then he's able to he's able to get the clinch though, and gets like double underhooks and just squeezes for his life. He's able to save his legs. Then in the third round, he throws a jab and he's able to land an overhand right, but then he presses some jabs, but then he eats a jab whenever he's coming in. But then he gets clipped with the left hook to the body, but then he's able to land a counter left hook up top to the head. But then he gets wobbled again with some leg kicks, pretty big reaction, but he's able to recover somehow, and he's able to get a snatch single right into the clinch up against the fence, and then with like 15 seconds left, he's able to get the single leg takedown off the fence, and then he starts adding his wrestling into it, and I don't understand why he wasn't shooting takedowns before this. It blows my mind, but I don't know. And then Johnny Walker took on Anthony Smith his last fight. In the first round, he lands a right cross in the pocket, but then he eats an overhand, but then he's able to land some leg kicks at range, and he doubles up on his leg kicks. Then he drops him with the 1-2 whenever Anthony rushes him, but then he gets taken out with the single and a half guard. It doesn't take a lot of damage though. He eats a couple elbows. Then in the second round, he eats a cross off of a missed overhand over steps. Then he's able to land a couple double leg kicks at range, but then he gets pressed and he eats an overhand. But then in the third round, he lands some leg kicks at range, but then again he eats an overhand. Like whenever Anthony would close the distance and he would be able to crowd him, he was able to land. Anthony Smith just didn't do enough of that. But then he's able to push, he lands a leg kick, and Anthony Smith's hurt at this point, pushes him down from the front headlock, lands a couple uppercuts on the ground, then back up on the feet, lands a jump knee with like 10 seconds left. Anthony Smith was visibly wobbled, but Johnny Walker did not follow up. I don't know why, so I don't know what to make of that. But Johnny Walker's plus 285, and Magomed ANKALAEV minus 360. Conventional wisdom would say Magomed ANKALAEV's going to win because he has the wrestling advantage. But I don't know, man. I just feel like Johnny Walker's going to win. And Magomed did not shoot takedowns on Jan. So that leads me to believe maybe he has like an IQ problem or something like that. Or maybe he's too proud to shoot takedowns and he wants to win in the striking. I don't know. But Johnny Walker was a little hesitant against Anthony Smith. So neither guy really had great performances their last fight. So it's hard to pick. So because of that, Johnny Walker's a huge underdog at plus 285. Johnny Walker's got 100 quitter power, of course, and he's huge. And Magomed does not like those leg kicks. Johnny Walker throws a lot of leg kicks. Call me crazy. It's 205. Anything could happen. Plus 285. I'm going to go with Johnny Walker. There's a chance he gets it done. I think he can do it. I like that money, so I'm going to do it. Coming in event of the evening at 185 pounds, men's middleweight. Almost certainly a title contender fight. Kamaru Usman coming up from 170. Khamzat Chimaev coming up from 170. Yeah, dude. If it's semi-decent fight, the winner's getting a title shot. Almost guaranteed. Kamaru Usman took on Leon Edwards his last fight at 170. In the first round, he lands some step-in, lunge jabs, but then he eats a body kick at range. He throws a 1-2, shoots a double to the fence, can't really get it though. Then in the second round, he eats some body kicks whenever he's coming in. But then he lands a jab, and he tries to go for the clinch, but then he eats a right hook coming in, and knee to the head whenever he backs out. Then he lands a lead left hook into the collar tie, and then he rips the body, which is really nice, really slick. But then he lands a lunge straight, and he's able to complete the double off the fence, some ground and pound around the back, and then Leon grabbed the fence, and they stood him back up. So then in the third round, he lands a snatch single, then he runs a pipe, is able to get a pretty quick and easy takedown. Back on the feet, he lands a lunge jab, then he gets clipped with the hook. But then he moves back and eats a knee to the head in the clinch. But then he pressures toward the fence, but then he stays at range and just kind of eats some kicks. And he'll do a good job of backing him up and cut Leon off on the fence. And his biggest problem was he didn't crowd him. In the first fight, he was in the collar tire of the clinch, ripping the body. And if he could get the double or the single if he wanted to, Kamaru just kind of stayed at range, and Edwards was landing whenever he was moving forward or whenever he was just standing there, and he was getting torn up with the leg and the body kicks. So it just seemed like he was a little hesitant. Leon knocked him out, so I think that could have been a mental game going on with Kamaru. But Khamzat Chimaev took on Kevin Holland his last fight, last minute at 185. In the first round, he just shoots a swing single, gets around the back, gets a nice mat return. Mat returns him a couple times. Holland keeps trying to hit a Granby. And then whenever Holland hits a Granby, Khamzat catches him, gets a three-quarter Nelson, switches to a Darce. And, Holland's fighting like hell, but Khamzat keeps readjusting, hooks the leg, and he's able to get the submission after a while. So that's the last time we saw him. And, of course, he took on Gilbert Burns before that. It was a knockdown, drag-him-out fight. But in the Gilbert Burns fight, he did drop him with a jab at one point. So you got to be wary of that. And who knows how Kamaru's chin is. I would guess it's better. I think moving up to 185 is going to help his chin. But, Khamzat is still going to be a lot bigger than him, I would assume. So it's a tough call. But Khamzat is minus 355. Kamaru Usman is plus 280. And, I think Kamaru is motivated again. I think he's got a new lease on life. I think this is another title, another opportunity for him to chase. He's still a former champion, one of the best welterweights of all time, and he was beating Leon Edwards. He would have won that fight. He got hit with a head kick. 1 minute left to go in the fight. And then I think the second fight, he was just hesitant. It was relatively competitive. I think Leon won clearly, but, he wasn't completely out of it. It's not like his chin's completely gone, so we'll see. I just know, I don't think Khamzat's not going to be able to just ragdoll Usman. Like, Usman's at least going to be able to stuff the takedowns. I don't know if Usman can take him down. And then, in the first round, Khamzat is going to probably land a lot of power shots. We'll see how Kamaru does with it. If Kamaru can land some jabs, Kamaru can land a couple of those straight shots. And if he can just keep him off him for a round, who knows how long Khamzat's cardio lasts if he keeps the pace he kept against Kevin Holland. So I just think this line is extremely disrespectful. I understand the 12 days notice and Kamaru moving up a weight class, but Kamaru Usman is still great. And plus 280, when you get Kamaru Usman plus 80, I'm going with Kamaru Usman. The main event of the evening, 155 pounds, men's lightweight for the title. Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander the Great Volkanovski. It was supposed to be Charles Oliveira. Arguably, this is a more interesting fight. Alexander Volkanovski taking this fight on 12 days notice is the most interesting part. Who knows what's going to happen? Obviously, their last fight, you could argue, is Islam 4-1 or 3-2. I personally thought it was 3-2. But there were competitive rounds, except for the fourth round, whenever Islam got his back. Clearly, Volkanovski lost that one. But, Volkanovski was landing a lot of punches over the back. Volkanovski never got dominated at any point. They both landed some good shots. Islam wobbled him a couple times. But then in the fifth round, dude, Alexander dropped him and just takes it to him and beats his ass the whole round. Now, I would say Islam won the contest, but Volkanovski won the fight. I know it's not pride, but if it was pride rules, Alex probably wins. So, and now Alexander, he's got he knows exactly what to expect. He's able to train. He stayed busy. He beat Yair Rodriguez in that time period, by the way. Islam hasn't fought. And Alexander's plus 250. And we saw how competitive the first fight was. Regardless of what the score was on the scorecards, that fight was competitive. A lot of people thought Islam was going to run over Volkanovski. So, but I just want to go over just a couple things I saw in the Yair Rodriguez fight. In the first round, he's able to catch the kick, gets a double, lands some nasty ground and pound. Volkanovski's been working on his wrestling. Obviously, Yair Rodriguez is not Islam Makhachev, but his wrestling looked good, looked dominant. In the second round, he eats a hook, and he rushes to the clinch, but he gets a double. He can eat a shot or two. And then in the third round, he landed a lead right hook, and he eats a few kicks at range. And whenever he found his range, Yair was able to land a couple kicks. Islam's got decent kicks, so that's something to be aware of. But I think Alex can take the shot. And then he rocks him with the right hook off of his front kick, and then he just rips the body and gets a double off the fence. He just literally pulls him right off the fence, beats the crap out of him, gets a TKO. You know, very violent, very brutal. Who's the last guy that did that to Yahyia Rodriguez? You know? And a lot of people thought Yahyia might beat Alex Volkanovski. I thought that was a possibility. So, Volkanovski seems like he's getting better. He's 36, you know, so he's right at his prime. He could probably maintain it for a year or two. And, yeah, dude, who knows what Islam's mental state is going to be like after that last fight. He knows what happened in that 5th round. So, you know, the only thing, actually, it makes it interesting, but it also kind of hinders it, is the 12 days notice. But, you know, maybe it doesn't matter, you know. But I personally, I don't think Volk is going to be wanting a 5-round fight. I think he's probably going to want to get it done within the first 3 rounds. So maybe he just gets down there and scraps and sees what happens. I don't know. But I think Volk is going to do a better job of defending takedowns. I think he'll be ready for it this time. So, and he's been preparing for Islam on the back burner. So Alexander Volkanovski plus 250, Islam Makhachev minus 205. Just like with Kamaru. When's the last time you've seen Alexander Volkanovski at plus 250? Not since the last fight. So anything could happen. I know they're in Islam's hometown, but plus 250. I'm going to go with Alexander Volkanovski. I think he can find a way. But who knows, man? I think it's more of a coin flip. Honestly, kind of think Islam's going to win, but at this price tag, under these circumstances, I think you roll the dice. Go with the underdog. All right, everybody. Thanks for riding with me. Appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all that stuff. Leave a comment down below. Help me out. Didn't have a great weekend last week, but I did my research. It's kind of a weird card, but I picked some good underdogs. So, you know, hopefully we get them all and or become profitable. Let's see some upsets. Let's see some violence. And let's see some profits. Good luck, everyone.